What's up, guys? It's your girl Nikki Valentine, the Style Shaman, coming to you with my first YouTube video ever, and I'm really excited about it. Today, we are talking about self-esteem, what it is, how to get it, what causes low self-esteem, and some things that you can do to give yourself a pickup. So before we get into all of that, I'm really excited. Welcome to my channel. At the Style Shaman, we're all about leveling up, feeling good, and looking even better, honey. Okay, so I'm going to be bringing you guys all types of videos on fashion, spirituality, motivational videos, inspirational videos, some story times, and digging into my personal tea, and all sorts of other good things to help you really level up and slay this year. So I'm excited. Let's go ahead and get into it for video number 1. Today we're talking about self-esteem. So the reason this is the place I want to start is that I feel like you cannot do anything in life well without self-esteem. It is the core and the basis of everything that we do, how we present ourselves to the world, how we feel every day, how we move. And so I wanted to make sure that we tackled that first. So the question is, what is self-esteem? The definition of self-esteem is confidence or worth in your own abilities and having self-respect. So let's break that down. Being confident in your worth. That means knowing you are worthy, you are a good person, you deserve love, you deserve money and all the other things that you desire, whether it's family, whether it's business, whether it's a purpose of goals that you want to reach, you are worth that. So that's the first piece of self-esteem, is believing that you're actually worth something, right? Having self-worth. The other part is having confidence in your own abilities. So knowing that there are things you're good at, there are things you excel at, there are things that are unique to you that you can be confident in and feel good about it. That is one part of having self-esteem. The other part is having self-respect. And I think this is actually one of the most key parts of high self-esteem, is respecting yourself. Because what that means is, you know what you stand for, you know that you have good morals, you're a good person, and that you deserve respect. You give yourself respect before you wait for that respect to be given from anybody else. And that is key to having high self-esteem. So now that we know what self-esteem is, we know that it's having confidence in your own worth, feeling like you have a sense of worth, feeling like you have confidence in your abilities, also feeling self-respect. That's a big one, having respect for yourself. So what is low self-esteem then? Low self-esteem is the lack of confidence, the lack of self-worth, or basically feeling bad about yourself. That is low self-esteem. So if you have a hard time talking to people, if you have a hard time interacting or presenting yourself with confidence, or dressing yourself, or you have a hard time speaking up for yourself, you have a hard time sticking up for yourself, you don't feel like you shine when you walk into a room, you kind of shrink back and shy away from attention. All of these things are characteristics of having low self-esteem. A lot of times low self-esteem also manifests itself in a lot of different ways, which is like anger, depression, anxiety, isolating yourself. So low self-esteem can actually affect you in a lot of different ways. It can even affect you in your work. You might not do as well at work. You might not do as well in business. You might not sell as much. You might not do as well in school because you don't have the confidence to ask questions, get extra help, etc. You might not have confidence in your relationships, and that's going to cause a lot of arguments, a lot of insecurity, a lot of separation from your partner. So low self-esteem can actually fuck up your life. Excuse my French. It can really affect how you feel every day, how you live your life, and really how far you go. So that's why I feel like we need to wrap our heads around, what is it? What is high self-esteem? What is low self-esteem? So I can figure out as a person where I am, right? Once you kind of figure out where you are in it, you may say, okay, either I have low self-esteem and I really don't feel good about myself, or I could feel better about myself. I could do more. I could feel more confident in X, Y, and Z situation. Okay, you may have a little bit of low self-esteem, like just a little bit, okay? So what I want to dig into, and one of the things you'll find about me through this YouTube channel, is that I'm super big on metaphysical self-healing, right? What that means is everything that you feel emotionally, physically, spiritually has a root in something. And once you find that root, then you can work to clear that stagnant energy that came from whatever that circumstance was, and then all the things associated with that root become clear. So when we're talking about self-esteem, it's not a matter of how do I tackle having low self-esteem, it's figuring out why do you have low self-esteem? What was the root cause? At what point did you lose your self-esteem? And once we get to that root, then we can really start to unpack, you know, what's going on and get back to a place of high self-esteem. So some of the things that cause low self-esteem. Childhood. That is the number one. Think about it. When you came into this world, you were crying, screaming, hollering. You wanted what you wanted it now, and you felt totally okay with that. At some point in your childhood, somebody, whether it was a parent, whether it was a sibling, whether it was a friend, whether it was someone in school, told you that you were not enough in some way. They told you you didn't look right. They told you you didn't speak right. They told you that you weren't smart enough. They told you that you weren't good enough. They told you maybe that it's not good to express your feelings or be different or cry or whatever it is. Somewhere in your childhood, you got the message from somebody, and if you think about it long enough, you can probably pinpoint what it is. Somewhere you were told that you're not enough. And you started to believe that, and you internalized it, and you made it your reality, and you took it with you as you grew older. So number one cause of low self-esteem is childhood rooted. So that's the first thing. Another cause of low self-esteem is doing poorly in school, actually. So again, you start off as a kid, you feel confident, you feel good about yourself, right? Now you go to school, you're tackled with reading, writing, math, whatever, all of these things. Some of these things people are not naturally good at. I'm naturally terrible at math. Unless it comes to counting money, miss me with the long calculations, I'm gonna bust out Google and my calculator, and that's just what it is, right? But if you're a young person and you're in school, that can feel so hard. That can feel like I'm not as smart as everyone else, I'm slow, there's something wrong with me, why don't I get it? Why do I have to ask more questions? And all of these things start to bring down your self-esteem, unfortunately. So far we have two things: childhood, doing poorly in school. One of the third things that can knock down your self-esteem is a stressful life event. And a lot of us have been through this. So let's say you were feeling confident all the way up until your 20s, and then someone really close to you passed away. Or you went through a horrible breakup that just wrecked your self-confidence. It is absolutely possible to start off having self-esteem and lose it, or to be feeling good about yourself and then hit a stressful life event that just really tears you down spiritually, and it tears down your self-confidence. A lot of times, and I've met a lot of people like this, that were very, very confident and then they lost a job or they got laid off. That messes with your mind, and it makes you feel, let's remember the definition again, it makes you feel like you're not worth as much. It makes you not feel like you have abilities that you can be confident in, and you then feel like people don't respect you, and then you lose respect for yourself. And now we're at what? Low self-esteem. So one of the other things that can affect that is abuse from other people. So far we have childhood traumas, doing poorly in school, stressful life events. The fourth thing is abuse from people. Let me tell you something. Other human beings can be the cause of your low self-esteem. Let me just keep that real and back up once again. Other people can actually be the cause of your low self-esteem. I know it's self-esteem, but go with me on this, right? There are people that are emotionally abusive, and that can be a parent, that can be a family member, that can be a partner, and that could be a friend, that could be a lover, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, right? There are people that, because they feel so poorly in themselves, they're gonna take it out on you and tell you all kind of things and treat you in a way such that you're gonna now feel poorly about yourself. I see it all the time. Abusive relationships where people tell you, you're nothing, you're never gonna be anything, you're never gonna achieve that. I don't know why you think you could do that. Girl, who do you think you are? You really thought you could? There are people that will beat these messages into your brain over and over and over again, to the point that you actually start believing it. And that is so damaging, but it is one of the biggest causes of self-esteem, is getting abuse from other people. One of the other causes, and I think these are kind of hand in hand, is physical or mental illness. And here's what I mean by that. Physical illness can cause you to have low self-esteem. I actually know this personally. I have fibromyalgia, which is a nerve and a pain disorder. In short sentences, it means I'm in pain often. That's like the best way I can sum it up. But it has taken me a lot of mental work to not allow it to take me under, because here's what happens. You wake up in pain, and then you wake up the next day in pain, and then you wake up the third day in pain, and you can't control it. And you had things you wanted to do, and you have a partner that wanted to do some things with you, and you wanted to go to work and really kill it today, and you start to not be able to do those things over and over and over again because of your illness. Now your self-esteem is lower because you feel like, wow, I'm this broken person. I can't do things. I'm not going to feel good to be able to do the things I want to do. And it starts to tear down your self-esteem. So there's a lot of people suffering from all kinds of illnesses, you know, all the way from serious illnesses down to things that are just chronic and constant and cause problems in their life. And that's tearing down the self-esteem. Along with that is mental illness. Millions of people suffer from mental illness. One of the side effects of mental illness is low self-esteem. People don't talk about this, but it's true. If you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you have bipolar, if you have any of these mental illnesses, what happens is not only do you have to suffer with the mental illness, but now you also feel like a bad person. You feel like less of a person. I know so many people that have anxiety that think less of themselves, that feel like something's wrong with me. My brain is broken. I'm a Debbie Downer. I'm not fun to be around. You know, I'm affecting other people around me. And now I feel badly about myself because I have this mental illness that I'm struggling with. So to recap, there are 5.5, or you could say 6 reasons or causes for low self-esteem. One is childhood trauma. Doing bad in school is number 2, or performing poorly in school as you go along. Stressful life events such as deaths, breakups, you name it, anything that causes a high amount of stress in your life in a singular event. Also abuse from other people. And then finally, mental and physical illness. So these are all things that can contribute to low self-esteem. So right now, I just want to stop and reiterate this point. It's not your fault. If you have low self-esteem right now, do not continue to beat yourself up for having it. It's hard enough to have it, right? So just know that it's not your fault. Things happened in your life. Things happened that have knocked down your self-esteem. But the great news is you can absolutely get it back. There are ways to solve this. There are ways to heal yourself and to raise your self-esteem. So I want to definitely touch on those before I get out of here. So the resolutions or the fixes to low self-esteem, this is my favorite part because I feel like any state you're in can be healed. Any poor state or negative state that you're in, you can find transformation in that. And that's what I always want to focus on. So how do we tackle low self-esteem? Okay, if we're talking about childhood issues, which we know is the number 1, right? What we need to do is confront that and heal it. And here's what I mean. If we go through things in our childhood that knock down our self-esteem and make us feel poorly, half the time as adults, what we do is we walk around and we act like nothing happened. Right? We walk around and we act like nothing ever went wrong. Everything in childhood was fine. I don't want to talk about it. It's not that serious. It's not that big of a deal. It actually is. That's the first thing you can do. If there were things that happened in your childhood, what I want you to do is really sit with yourself, by yourself, take some quiet time and really start to bring up those memories of things that hurt you, things that happened. Things that people said to you, you know, if you have no one that you can talk to and say that out loud, I urge you to find any blank sheet of paper or a journal and start to write those things out. I also love to do free writing. So I'll get on my laptop sometimes and just open up Word and just let it all come out. Things that are hurting you and they've been in there and they happen to you. And simply by not acknowledging it, you can't heal it. Once you acknowledge it, then you can heal. So the first thing you want to do is take some quiet time, maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks, to really sit down and close your eyes, get quiet, and think about what were some things in my childhood that hurt me. You have to make yourself think about this stuff. This is the thing. This is why people like Ian Levant Sant say do the work, because it's work. You have to dig in there and really set aside time to bring up these things, sit in the emotions that they bring up. It might make you upset. It might make you cry. It might make you angry. It might make you want to punch someone in their face. That's fine. Give it all to your journal, do some energy clearing rituals afterwards, and I will tell you guys more about how to do those. But the first thing you can do is confront and heal those things that happened to you in your past that knocked down your self-esteem. For me, for the last year and a half, I've been working a lot on dealing with things that happened in my childhood. I had a very volatile childhood. Mind you, my parents are wonderful people, but I had a very volatile childhood and I had to witness a bunch of things that affected me and affected my self-esteem. So the first thing I had to do was actually admit that. I love these people. I'm not vilifying these people, but this is actually my life story. This was my experience. These are things that happened to me, and these are the ways in which they've affected me. And as I started to give voice to that, as I started to write it, as I started to type it out, it just purged that blocked energy out of me, and it started to help me restore my self-esteem, because I realized, okay, those things weren't my fault. Those were just some things that happened. This is how I felt about it, and now I can clear that out. Second thing you can do is self-educate. So as we discussed, one of the reasons for low self-esteem is doing poorly in school or not feeling intelligent enough. A lot of times we compare our intelligence to other people and go, I feel kind of stupid, or maybe I'm not as smart, or maybe I don't know all the big words or whatever. The number one thing you can do to raise your self-esteem is self-educate. Educate yourself. Read more books, do more Googling, do more YouTubing. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have even gone to I don't even care. It doesn't matter. You can self-educate. There is such a thing called an autodidact. That is a person that is self-educated. There are some of the most successful people in the world that never went to college. Some of them never even finished high school. They dropped out. But they always continue to seek education and to better themselves mentally and to learn more things. So that's the number one, or I guess number two thing I could tell you is self-educate. If you don't feel that you have the intelligence level, or you don't feel as able to contribute in conversation, and that brings your self-esteem down, read. The best thing you can do for yourself is read. Go Google up some books. Go get them on Amazon. They're cheap. Go YouTube some questions that you've always had. Go Google some questions that you've always had, because in this day and age, education is free. Okay, so that's number two. Third thing you can do is to eliminate stress. Mental and physical stress on the body has an effect on your self-esteem. And that's like the way you're wired. The higher your stress level is, it's releasing chemicals that are then messing with your brain wiring, and it will cause things like anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. So you have to become active in cutting stress out of your life as much as possible. I know there are always going to be things that stress us out, but if you have a roommate that makes you want to jump out the window, it's time to move. If you're in a relationship and that person gives you gray hairs, time to go. If you're at a job that makes you feel like you want to punch someone in the face every day, it's time to quit. I know, I was there, and I did my quitting in September of last year. And it has changed my life and my self-esteem. So if there are life events or recurring situations that are stressful to you, just know that it's pulling down your self-esteem, and it's time to get the hell out, okay? One of the other things that you can do for your self-esteem, oh, and side note, that includes people. Cutting off people, places, and things that stress you out so that you can feel less stressed, feel better about yourself, and raise your self-esteem. Now, one of the last things that's super, super, super important for your self-esteem, for your health, is actually taking care of your mental and physical health. A lot of us struggle with things and we tend to ignore them. I don't know why. Like, if you had a child that had a mental illness or a physical illness or something that was affecting their quality of life, you would do everything in your power to make sure you stop that, right or wrong. Why is it that when we become adults, we settle with this stuff and we say, I have a bad back, but it's fine. You know, I've been getting these headaches, but don't worry about it. I'm overweight, but I'll get to it next year. You know, I've really had this depression since the baby, but it'll pass. You know, I've really been feeling so much anxiety. I'll get over it. No, do something about it, because it's bringing down your self-esteem, it's bringing down your quality of life. I don't care if it's going to an energy healer, going to your doctor, getting a diagnosis, figure out what the hell is wrong with you, right? I'm not saying you have to take the pills, but go figure it out. If you're feeling mentally drained, down, depressed, anxious, what have you, go talk to somebody, get a mentor, get a coach, go to therapy. There are online therapists, there are phone therapists. You don't even have to have your business out in the street, but handle it, because in doing so, you're gonna then raise your self-esteem. So super quick recap. Let's back it all the way up, right? Self-esteem is confidence in your own self-worth and your abilities and a feeling of self-respect. That is having high self-esteem. Low self-esteem is when you lack confidence, you lack that feeling of self-worth, and you lack self-respect. Some of the things that cause low self-esteem: a tough childhood, stressful life events, doing poorly in school, abuse from other people, whether it's family, friends, relationships, and also mental and physical illness can cause low self-esteem. some of the things that you can do about it are to confront those things that have hurt you in the past and work on healing those, educating yourself, reading, Googling, YouTubing, increasing your knowledge so you can feel more confident. Also, cutting stress. That means people, places, things that stress you the hell out, they gotta go. And then finally, taking action on your mental and physical illness in an effort to heal yourself, because just the effort alone is gonna raise your self-esteem. So definitely like, share, and subscribe to this video, to my channel. Pass this video on if you think it's gonna help somebody. I truly hope it does. And definitely come back and check me out for more videos. Love y'all.